Hello my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. So let's start with southern Texas, and right now they have received record-breaking June rainfall, the worst flooding they've seen since Hurricane Harvey. And some areas over here have gotten 13 inches of rain in 2 days. That's tremendous amount of rain. It's just everywhere we look, we're seeing this. And I'll share with you guys that from Asia, I got warning before of somewhere around August 10th there being a major event in Florida on the level that's going to be, something that could cause disruption totally of power and food and getting around, something that might last 10 to 14 days. Originally it was slated for around August 10th. As the message was for me personally that you might want to think to get out of Florida by that time line. And so, yesterday she contacted me just saying urgent message from Archangel Michael, a personal message to you. You might want to rethink what you're doing or just make plans because now she was saying it's going to be about 4 to 5 weeks. So somewhere more in the middle to latter part of July, so more like July 20th through 30th, there's going to be a major event along these lines, or maybe even more severe in Florida at that time, that will disrupt things for 10 days to 2 weeks, and damage to property, and just one of those things where if you're going to be here, you might be stuck for a while, and just to prepare. So we're seeing here they're getting in Texas basically conditions. Harvey was incredibly bad, but second to Harvey, this is as bad as it typically will ever get there. And we haven't had a hurricane hit yet, major hurricane hit, but this rainfall is just incredible. And these are what we're seeing all over the entire globe right now. And so in this area, which is so flood prone, very, very devastating. So Texas is no stranger to this type of severe weather, and their emergency personnel are ready and well prepared to respond. And if you remember, we had talked about they actually were buying boats. Some inland towns were buying boats to be able to get down the streets in case of flood. And that's an interesting thought. And one of my very dear friends here was saying that, saying maybe we should think about getting a boat just so we could get down the street without being bothered by gators when it floods. And that's it sounds funny, but you have to really consider it when you see this type of flooding. A kayak or something like that, even an inflatable. As you can see, South Texas getting pounded with rain or snow, and then of course you end up getting the sinkholes, and we can see again the roads getting destroyed. And I've gotten other info on that as well, that things are not always as they appear. So there could be other factors playing in with this, as we were talking about with the weather wars going on. And this is one of the areas that supposedly China has been targeting in this secret little weather war thing going on between China and the U.S. As we can see all these photos here, just tremendous flooding. And more volcanoes going off. We have a new eruption observed at Krakatau volcano in Indonesia. And this just occurred on the 19th, and it's producing ash that rose a few hundred meters before it dissipated. So nothing major, but it could be a sign of a more robust eruptive phase that's about to begin. Thermal radiation has increased since March 2018, so there could definitely be, and there probably is, magma movement below the surface. And we could just add it to the list And here is an article talking about a major volcano in New Zealand will almost certainly blow in a catastrophic eruption. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when and timing. And this is Mount Taranaki, and it's pretty much certain to follow the likes of volcanoes which have devastated Hawaii and Guatemala and caused major damage to New Zealand. Civil defense plan for New Zealand's Northern Island, where the volcano is located, found that an eruption is almost certain. But it might not be for years still. It's just a matter of when. But with all the energy coming in, everything is on that speeded up timeline. So it's something, again, to prepare for. And New Zealand, definitely, it's in the ring of fire. And if we look at what's going on now, all the reds are in eruption, and then all of the yellowish orange ones are in minor activity. And when we look at it, that's a lot of activity cooking right now, for sure. There's a lot of activity going on. And we can see, the whole ring of fire is pretty active and coming online. Right now, there's minor activity up in Alaska area without any active volcanoes in actual eruption, but that could change at any time. And so we have a very bright daylight fireball exploding over Russia, meteorites possible. And I'll let you guys play this, because whenever we play stuff, a lot of times it ends up being that the video gets targeted and not suitable for monetization, and this is how we stay afloat. So it was a spectacular daylight fireball, as you can see here, exploding, extremely bright. And this is in Russia. Just another one to add to the list. So there has been an unusual amount of activity coming in. We're in a definite busy area of the galaxy right now with lots of debris, and this fireball event was one of the biggest so far this year. Pretty spectacular. So I'll give you the links as usual, and you guys could check it out as well. And there's just so much going on right now all over the globe. Japan fears larger earthquake after the Osaka. So the Osaka, which USGS was talking 5.9, and everybody else was showing 6.1. And we know USGS has their agenda, but they're worried that this could actually be more of a prequel to something much bigger coming. And here we see some actual flooding over here as well in Japan. And there's been 31 aftershocks so far. Lots of panic buying in supermarkets, and to be expected. Again, preparation, my friends. That's what we need to do. And this I've found interesting, because you just don't see a lot of earthquakes in New Jersey. And so this one, it's located out in the woods. Actually, it's by what looks to be a helicopter pad. Just an interesting one, small, 1.7. And when we look at what we have going right now, fairly typical as far as Alaska and California. And again, around the Ring of Fire, again, mostly, 4s and 5s. And when we look at Hawaii right now, 583 earthquakes in 24 hours. So, it's staying at a very, very high level. And I would expect we'll probably see another 5.3 eruption today. We might as well keep going for that number and just keep at that level. And the thing I did notice, though, that was interesting was that there was a lot more activity around Mauna Loa, and also at high levels as far as location-wise, 10,000 feet above sea level. So I'm still of the opinion that at some point we're going to see Mauna Loa go, and that's just me. 12-year-old boy in Upper Peninsula, this is Michigan, dies after flooding collapsed the basement. And the flooding up there in Michigan and Wisconsin was just intense and insane. And we saw all those roads just destroyed. And you have to think about how difficult it can be to get out of an area if the road, one of the major roads out, is destroyed, with that type of flooding. Like here, it took me like 12 hours to get a 2 hours drive during the evacuation with Irma. So if something like that happened to the highway, like 75 or on the other side 95, you're just going to have people sitting in a parking lot. It's going to be just a really bad situation. So this very, very sad. This is Houghton County, and this is one of the areas that was so hard hit in Michigan with tremendous flooding. And as I was saying before in the other videos, these are areas that you just don't necessarily think of when you think of areas in the world that are going to be very dangerous with the changes that we see coming. One of the places that we recognize is going to be an issue is here in Florida, and this is a new study finding that Florida is most at risk for tidal flooding over the next century. And the study finds that 1 million properties are at risk by 2100. That's a lot of properties, and really it could be way, way higher than that. And excuse me while I take another sip of coffee here. One of my addictions that I will never give up. And so this report was conducted by the Union of Concerned Scientists. About 64,000 of today's residential properties in Florida are currently at risk of chronic inundation due to tidal flooding. By the year of 2045, the report combines property data from online real estate company Zillow with a peer-reviewed methodology, and it said that by 2100, 1 million properties will be at risk, about 10% of the state's current residential properties, and home to approximately 2.1 million people in those properties today. So more than 40% of the nation's homes that will be at risk in 2100 are in Florida. Miami, the Florida Keys, and Tampa's St. Pete area are expected to be the most highly exposed areas. So it's something that we realize when we're down here, and if you don't, you really should. It is definitely a risk-reward scenario. It's wonderful to have these beaches and to be in what I feel is my preferred place in the United States. Yet there definitely comes a risk, especially when we're going into these storms and especially when the hurricanes come. But it might not even need to be a hurricane, as we're seeing to do devastation with those floods that we saw in the upper Midwest. Just incredible. And so this is a really, really cool article, and this is how to make a solar-powered food dehydrator, and it comes with free plans. This is Off Grid World, and of course I'll have the links for you guys to check it out. Relatively simple. And of course, dehydration is a simple, effective method of preserving fruits, veggies, nuts, and meats. Drying removes the majority of the water that's in food, making it less hospitable to bacteria and mold. Drying has many advantages over other preservation methods. First, dry foods are easier to store than fresh or canned foods because they take up a fraction of the space. And they require no refrigerator or freezer, which, if we have power outages and the grid going down, it's going to be key and critical. Dry foods also last a long time in storage, as they are kept moisture-free. Dried foods are by far the easiest foods to keep on hand for emergencies and for hiking, camping trips, and a fraction of the bulk and the weight of canned foods. So ovens and food dehydrators are the most common methods of drying food, but the sun is just as effective, if not more so. And then just thinking about the other aspects of it is the energy from the sun as well, and the chi, the ki, the prana, the life force that goes into it. And even though we're seeing UVC at ground level, we must not remain fearful, because so much of everything is intention. And I'm choosing to view it as basically this is going to trigger evolutionary energies inside of myself. I'm not thinking this is going to trigger a negative outcome inside myself. So I'm viewing it as a positive. And that has such an effect on what happens in our bodies. It's all about intention and where you're at. No fear, my friends, no fear. Ovens, as we were saying, and food dehydrators are most common, but solar dehydrators can be built fairly easily with inexpensive materials as a way of conveniently taking advantage of sunshine for food drying. They can be made as small or as large as desired. The best part about solar dehydrators is they require no electricity to operate. So as long as you have the sun, food can be preserved using this method. Not only does it save electricity, it's more convenient to let foods dry out in the sun than it is to run a dehydrator or an oven indoors during the hot, late summer months. And so we're going to have articles over here, and there's plans here too for you guys to check it out. And it's definitely an interesting and a good idea, I think. And I'd love to hear what you guys think about that as well. So my friends, as always, please do subscribe if you haven't subscribed and join the family officially. Make sure you click the bell to make sure you get all the notifications. Share with as many people as possible so we could keep waking people up to what is coming. And so there will be less people panicking, more people like, hey, no big deal. I knew this was coming. I am ready for this. And then, of course, thumbs up to support the channel. And I look forward to seeing you guys again very, very soon. As always, may you be blessed with abundance, peace, love, happiness. And may you always be kept safe during these times, and all your loved ones as well. God bless, my friends, and namaste.